So, welcome to our Empty Moon Zen community and to our Saturday morning program. And today I will be speaking. I'm James Ford. I'm the guiding teacher here. A few days ago, I posted a Rumi quote on my Facebook page. It goes, "Sit, be still, and listen, because you're drunk, and we're at the edge of the roof." My friend and colleague in UU world, Roger Butts, challenged me as a Zen teacher to explain what it is exactly that I saw in that quote. If you've been living in a cave somewhere, you may not know Rumi. His full name is Jalalludin Rumi, and he was a 13th century Muslim theologian, poet, and a Sufi master. A couple of years ago, it was widely reported that Rumi was the best-selling poet in America. Might still be so. What I really like about him is that Sufi thing. He was a follower of the mystical traditions of Islam. And in fact, he established the Mevlevi Order, best known in our circles as whirling dervishes. If his writings are a way to judge him, he profoundly understood the spiritual life from a perspective that, while totally Muslim, was also amazingly universalist. His words have touched many hearts across many cultures and ages, including mine. I often find he says what Zen teachers say, but perhaps with a little more heart. I thought that lovely verse a perfect example. Now, first, with any Rumi quote these days, it is wise to make sure he actually said it. I suspect he may be misquoted on the interwebs more than the Buddha. And a legitimate challenge to a number of our more popular interpreters of Rumi is that their versions are so creative as to be unrecognizable when measured against literal translations. For instance, there is a lot of de-Musliming, if that's a word, that happens. So, is this line real? The answer is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. And it's recognizable when it's laid up against a literal translation. To judge for yourself, A.J. Harbury is so literal that the criticism of his work is he often loses the music of the language, the, poetry. His translation, it's the concluding lines of a larger poem, is be silent and sit down, for you are drunk, and this is the edge of the roof. The version I used, and which is posted all over the interwebs, and which I'm pretty sure is from Coleman Barks, goes, sit, be still, and listen, because you're drunk, and we're at the edge of the roof. So, with a tip of hat in gratitude to the great scholar and translator, Professor Harbury, actually, even it's interesting because he's from at the beginning of the last century, and his literal translation of the Quran remains a standard for non-Muslim translations. I mean, this guy did really good work. But we know the more lyrical Barks version is also faithful to the original. Which takes us to the 4 points of the verse. Sit, listen, you're drunk, and we're sitting at the edge of the roof. As someone walking the Zen way, the first line is really clear. Sit. As in, sit down, shut up, and pay attention. And actually, that second point, listen, fills out the whole of the perennial Zen counsel. Listen. Don't immediately respond. Don't think you know. Don't interpret a moment before you must. Listen. And there we get the other two parts of the message. Points we find in near all the world's spiritual traditions. In Sufi poetry, drunk is an interesting word. Sometimes it's a good thing, as in the divine intoxication we experience when we come close to the mystery. In the Zen way, we tend to be less, well, spiritual. The fundamental encounter is more described as a letting go of our delusions. We like awakening. When we're being extravagant about the moment, we might speak of the hazy moon, or just plain not knowing. But the Sufis sometimes like to speak to that moment as a drunkenness, a loss of control and a tumbling into the arms of the lover. But here, that's not the point. It's the other drunkenness. It's the lack of clarity. It's the poisonous intoxication of one's own opinions, views, what we know without a shade of doubt. In Zen, we sometimes call this ignorance. We see the world through a funhouse mirror, and we mistake what we're seeing through the lenses of our aversions and desires. So drunk is a very good word. And then there's that last line. You know, the one about the edge of the roof. Here we are. The world is on fire. The catch is, it has always been so. This world is as passing as a mayfly. It will all fall apart. Actually, it is falling apart. And so are we. You, me. The matter is urgent. The way is offered. Listen.